The Diary of a Certified Psychopath. Off the crank. Challenge number 1. On the 25th day of a month that still sends sparkles down the spine of a certain plotting pyromaniac's restless spirit, barely 1 working week before all mortal lovers of merry heads, kind hearts, holly wreaths and fruity tarts get to bend back the first paper porthole on their Noah's Ark advent calendar, was to navigate a safe route through the less charted chomping ground of my hometown's eastern neighbours, to the bustling epicentre of Britain's cosmopolitan coastal capital, where I would weigh anchor at Sir Winston Churchill's favourite shopping precinct, even though it was constructed over 3 decades after his death, and muscle my way past hordes of malcontented meanderers, gazing through the single-glazed safety glass window panes of Sole Trader, Foot Locker, Hollister, Zara, the Early Learning Centre, and every other bricks-and-mortar retail outlet that continues, somehow, to survive Amazon's great global high street cull, including that luxury novelty gadget shop that nobody can remember the name of, but sells everything from 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles, self-assembling drone kits, trivia board games, trick card decks, and those cute cuddly cactuses that belly dance to your curated Spotify playlists. The purpose of this self-inflicted pilgrimage was to visit the colossal consumer hub's Apple store and obtain a white silicon case for my familial business partner's brand new jet black iPhone 16e, poised to replace her long-serving SE2, that she'd have continued using until the no-LED screen was too scuffed to identify a single keyboard character, and its battery health had declined to below 1% of the original charging capacity, unless, that is, I could find a way either to exchange her now unsealed 16e that I'd hastily set up with all her most hated but essential apps on the assumption that its dark shade would be a relatively minor inconvenience, or recolour its supposedly camouflage anodized coat via a more resourceful method, i.e., one that didn't involve a 15% restocking fee. Straddled my stalwart steed and cantered off down Harbour Way, instantly sensing a stiffening westerly's seasonal sting, and wishing I'd bothered to place Rafa's moth-bitten deep winter beanie hat beneath my loose-fitting hood. A trouble-free traverse across Ferry Footbridge, then over Eastern Avenue's merciless level crossing, led me to Middle Road's now cycle-friendly assault course of speed bumps, pinch points, and surprisingly communicative keep-left bollards. Cobbled together a sequence of postural intervals, casually crafted by my safe proximity to whichever low-emission vehicle, within a pronounced flurry of pre-rush hour traffic, happened to be immediately ahead, springing up from the saddle and stomping through slow-drying cement, whenever I was close enough to read the parent on-board stickers, then resuming seated salad spinning once they drifted beyond draftable range. Sustained this format until I'd reached the north quarter of Portslade, Newtown, where I finally shouldered past the broad chassis of a Volkswagen SUV, whose gracious pilot had evidently given way to every oncoming car since driving their early Christmas present out of the showroom. The remainder of my outbound voyage proved pleasantly uneventful, excluding a directional dilemma at Hove Street, where I had the choice either of a hillier, though slightly less congested route to my destination via Brighton's swanky Seven Dials, once described by eminent restaurant critic Milton Massey as a nice place to eat steamed sushi, smell smoked mackerel, and buy duck eggs, but I wouldn't live there for free. Or squiggle along the gently undulating inclines of Lansdowne Road, and risk being balked by at least one dawdling double-decker. Plumped for the latter, and thereafter promptly cut down onto the town's spiritual high street, where a discreet excursion across responsibly shared space took me to the precinct's frugal but functional bike parking facilities. Upon entering, the evocative fragrance of Millie's freshly baked oatmeal and raisin cookies assailed my sensitive nostrils, eliciting swells of intense nostalgia when a little sweet sustenance had been sought and savoured between marathon searches for extravagant stocking stuffers, moments after watching the last PS2s waltz out of Electronics Boutique beneath the arms of unscrupulous scalpers intending to flog their must-have toy to desperate parents, for whom a child's beaming smile, joyful shrieks, and dance of euphoric fulfillment is worth far more than next year's holiday budget. Festive adornments were there in abundance, barely a banister, guardrail, or pedestal left bereft of vibrant colour or infectious sparkle, whilst above, a veritable Niagara Falls of fairy lights cascaded from the rafters in luminous tendrils. Yet even amidst such dazzling distractions, the New World Orchard's fruitful icon was distinct and unmistakable. In I tentatively tottered, trying to avoid the hawkish gaze of at least half a dozen fully ordained apolologists, recruited by the tech industry's golden delicious demagogue to entice, cleanse, and convert any misguided PC user with a life-changing embodiment of their enlightener's home-harvested silicon. No Super Slim M4 MacBook Air here, please, or its just-launched sibling, the M5 MacBook Pro, even though it's cheaper and at least as fast as the M4 Pro MacBook Pro, thanks to the later architecture's smaller process node, yielding significant IPC-based performance gains, though its lower core count means it cannot be configured with any more than 32 gigs of unified memory. And if it could, there would be no reason to buy the M5 Pro or Max MacBook Pros, which will be out long before I dare set foot in this cursed premises again. Case located without assistance, and payment successful upon first tap. In fact, it almost took me longer to clumsily key my email address into the designated genius's card machine for an electronic receipt than hot-foot it out of the mall and embark on my less twisty but considerably more scenic cruise home along the seafront's practically appointed cyclepaths.